I welcome you to the second installment of this course on the basics of medicine. So far I've given you some details about the framework. In particular, we have defined what medicine is. We said that medicine is the science and art of dealing with the maintenance of health and the prevention, alleviation, and a cure of disease. We also expanded that medicine is not necessarily exact, but that it is practical. We're now going to have a discussion about health, wellness, and disease, as you can see from the subtitle. This concept may seem self-explanatory, I think. However, it is important to distill them to their most practical essence. I want to have everything as simple as possible, of course, without oversimplifying. Again, the content, today's content will be somewhat repetitive. This is on purpose. There will also be more definitions in today's lesson. This is not particularly entertaining, but it's part of the basics, which are important, just very important. So they have to be clearly understood. Now, health definition. First of all, on the left slide, again, you see the table of content, and in bold you see what the current slide is about. So, what is health? Same as with with medicine, we are allowed to choose a definition ourselves. You see here two definitions taken from the same dictionary we used last time. So first of all, we can say health is the condition of being sound in body, mind, or spirit. We can also say that health is a condition in which someone or something is thriving or doing well. I like both definitions, so I just choose to combine them. And we can say that health is a state of feeling sound in our body, mind, spirit that allows us to thrive. You will notice that I have switched condition with state, as I find it more clear and a more simple word. I think it's easier to understand to say that health is a state of feeling sound in our body, mind, spirit that allows us to thrive. I like it. Health evolution. Now, if we look at health from an evolutionary standpoint, we can derive a concept that supports the previously chosen definition. First of all, evolution is extensively studied. It's useful. It's done with the observational studies, and it just helps to explain why the things are the way they are, why things are the way they are. So this actually applies on many levels, also for different time frames. So, for example, if you go to a psychologist to get to know you, he will ask you about your past traumas. If you go to for a job interview, your potential employer will ask you about previous work experiences. So this actually applies on different levels. So we study the past to get to know the present. So what we know is that humans have needs. All living beings have needs, and we know the purpose of these needs is to meet our ultimate life's purpose of survival and also reproduction. So these are our ultimate life goals. Now, if we feel that we can meet our needs, we will be in a state of feeling sound in our body. We will feel at ease. And this will be a state that allows us to thrive, because we can actually meet all our needs. So we know we can meet all our needs. So yes, we see that this actually overlaps or is what we defined previously for health. So we said that health is a condition of feeling sound that allows us to thrive. So if our needs can be met, we would be healthy as per previous definition. Now, health, our concept. We can extend the initial definition for health with the details from the evolutionary scientific explanation we just looked at. We can say health is a condition, is a state of feeling sound in our body, mind, spirit that allows us to thrive, which means that allows us to meet our personal needs. So this is our concept of health. It's very practical. We'll see what exactly health is in practical terms. Now, what are the consequences of this expansion? In this diagram, we see both our needs and our capabilities represented as circles. Health is actually the overlap between our personal needs and these capabilities we have. Basically, the degree of overlap determines the degree of health. Now, an obvious consequence of this is that the less needs we have, the more we will feel we will be healthy. And also, as a second consequence, we can say the more relevant capabilities we have, the healthier we will be. Now, why is this relevant? Why am I showing you this? I think you know why. I said that medicine is practical, and this concept we will see is relevant to promote health in a practical way. Now, wellness. We know what health is. Now, what is wellness? Same definition, same dictionary for this definition too. Now we see wellness is the quality and state of being healthy. In short, it's a synonym for health. Today we associate the word with health maintenance, anti-aging, disease prevention practices, things such as spa, outdoor activities, relaxation, and spiritual practices. These practices are all central components of our definition of medicine. We said medicine is also the prevention of disease and maintenance of health. So this is why I personally like to use the word wellness in the context of medicine. Now, wellness and health are synonyms. This is proper definition, and we are okay with this. Now, disease, on the other hand, is per definition a condition, a state of a living being, or one of its parts that impairs normal function. So it's a state that doesn't allow you to function normally. Now here we simply deduce that disease is the opposite of wellness, because wellness implies a state of ease, as we saw. And since disease is the opposite of ease, it means that disease just simply means absence of wellness. So feeling at ease is the same thing as saying feeling well, and feeling diseased is the same thing as saying feeling unwell. Now, this is a summary of how health, wellness, and disease relate to each other. We have derived this. And this is important because we have to be on the same page on this. So feeling at ease is the same as feeling well, which is the same as saying being healthy. And on the other end of the spectrum, we can say that feeling disease is the same of saying that we are feeling unwell, which is the same as saying we are lacking health. Now we're moving on to symptoms. This is a concept. So symptoms can be defined as a subjective evidence of disease. Again, it's the same dictionary. I like this definition. It's subjective evidence of disease. We also know that disease is lack of health, and therefore a symptom is evidence of lack of health. This is just simple logic. I also want to add that the symptom is commonly associated with mechanism promoting the restoration of health. This is relevant, we will see, and it's relevant because it's practical, and practical is something that we are looking for. Now, symptoms and evolution again. If we look at symptoms from an evolutionary standpoint, we can easily derive a model that fits into the previously chosen definition. Evolutionary understanding, as we said, is a scientific approach that helps us explain why things are the way they are. We said, first of all, that disease represents the impossibility to meet our personal needs, which means we will not be able to ultimately survive and reproduce. Second, if we are in a state of disease, the body and the mind will therefore make us aware that something is threatening this, our life's purpose, our life's goals. So this makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint. Now, this awareness is naturally is commonly linked to a feeling of worry or weakness or unwellness. Something changed. Something is making us feel not at ease. So we lost the state of wellness. And we said state of wellness is actually the absence of worries. So being worried is the opposite of feeling well. Now, of course, we can say that subjective evidence of a state of disease is important to help us avoid failing our personal needs, and so avoid not reaching our ultimate goal of survival and reproduction. And on the other end, wellness and health indicates that we are able to meet our needs and we are therefore on the right track to survive and reproduce. Now, symptoms and disease. This is actually a very important slide, where for the first time we also deviate from common medical practice. As per definition, whenever there is a symptom, there is also disease. We said that symptom is evidence of disease. This is true because it's per definition. Unfortunately, it is a common mistake in the current medical practice to disregard this simple concept. The medical practice also uses terms such as disorder, syndrome, condition, disease to indicate different states of disease. In my experience, and if you do some research, you will find that most of these terms have vague definitions. They're also used inconsistently and are mostly in use because of historical reasons. Sometimes these reasons do not apply anymore. Now, fortunately, the term disease in its definition includes all of these terms, so all of these concepts: disorder, syndrome, condition, disease, and others. And therefore, we'll only use the term disease, and we'll not use these different terms that the modern medical practice uses. Now, one important point we have to make is that absence of symptom does not necessarily mean absence of disease. We said that the symptoms always grants for a disease, always guarantees there is a disease. However, the other way around, if there is no symptom, doesn't mean there is no disease. So overall, we can say that there is disease whenever there's a symptoms and or the body is in a state where it cannot meet its personal needs somehow. Now, two types of disease. Disease is absence of health. We said that. However, we can expand on this. There is a simple yet very practical classification we want to use, which are these two types of disease. A disease will always be either a trauma disease or a chronic disease. Now, what is a trauma disease? Let's start with a few examples. Examples of a broken leg, a twisted ankle, an ear infection, pneumonia, food poisoning, a burn. There's many. This disease is usually acute in nature. It might require urgent medical attention and is usually curable. I have written without changes in homeostasis. What this means is that if we look at the body as an equilibrium of reactions, we observe a temporary imbalance, which is usually restored in time. On the other hand, a chronic disease, we have chronic diseases. Examples are all diseases which are not generally considered curable. So a disease such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, epilepsy, Alzheimer's. We can say all autoimmune diseases, metabolic diseases such as blood pressure or cardiovascular issues, diabetes, and also many more. These are usually subacute, so they are usually not life-threatening in the short term, and they are usually considered incurable. This type of disease is associated with the change of homeostasis, which simply means a new and less healthy equilibrium is established in the body. I think this slide should be enough to make you to help you understand if a disease is a trauma disease or a chronic disease. Now, homeostasis. We just saw how chronic disease changes homeostasis, and the trauma disease, on the other hand, does not. So what is homeostasis really, and why does it matter? On this slide and on the next two slides, we should look at this in more detail. First of all, what is homeostasis? Let's start with the definition. Homeostasis is a relatively stable state of equilibrium or a tendency towards such a state. Also, we can say it's an ability by the body to seek and maintain a condition of equilibrium within itself. On the other hand, we have equilibrium. What is equilibrium? An equilibrium is a condition where all influences result in a stable system. So if there are different forces, in total they will result in a stable system. What is the difference between the two, between homeostasis and equilibrium? I think the difference we can say lies in the words relatively stable. So an equilibrium usually better applies to inorganic objects, so dead objects. So it's really a stable system, whereas homeostasis better applies to organic, living, dynamic organisms. We, of course, as humans, our bodies, we are living organisms, so we will use the term homeostasis and not equilibrium. Now on the bottom, I have illustrated two examples of equilibria. These are two different systems. They're both stable, both equilibrium. We see this is balanced weights. In the first one we have 1 kilogram per side. The second one we have half a kilogram per side. Both are in equilibrium. But they are different, because if we look at the system individually, they are different. Now, homeostasis and disease. How does homeostasis relate to disease? Now, in the previous slide, we saw the default state of an isolated equilibrium for an inorganic dead system. So we saw that the system was composed by two weights, 1 kilogram on the left and 1 kilogram on the right. This is our default state of equilibrium. Now, what happens when one of the influencing forces becomes too strong or too weak, and the body and the system cannot compensate? We lose this original homeostasis, and what happens is what we see in the first illustration. We have point number 1. We have a loss of healthy equilibrium. It's a loss of, if we talk about the body system, we have a loss of original homeostasis. This will be an unstable equilibrium and will quickly deteriorate. So how do we restore equilibrium? What possible approaches are there? You see the number 2, the reactions by the body. Now, if we look at the equilibrium, the inorganic equilibrium, we have two possibilities. We either add some weight on the left, half a kilogram, to restore the original equilibrium, or we remove half a kilogram on the right, and we get the new equilibrium, which is also an equilibrium. But these are 2A and 2B are obviously two different equilibria. Now, if we're looking at an isolated equilibrium, let's say really two boxes balanced on a piece of wood, this doesn't matter much. This is an inorganic system. It's dead objects, and even if equilibrium displayed in 2B is more vulnerable, let's say, to wind, it doesn't really matter. Even if the boxes fall, it doesn't matter. However, if we look at the body, this will make a difference. The two equilibrium look differently, right? The boxes are larger in the first one, so boxes, if it's boxes, doesn't matter. If it's within the body, it will matter. Now, let's use two examples from everyday life to help us understand this better, what homeostasis is about and how it relates to disease, and how there can be different homeostasis and how they influence our health and our performance. So the first example would be, let's imagine it's summer and we're going for an evening run. Now we put on our shoes, we exit the house, and we start running. Let's say we are running at a speed of 10 kilometers per hour, and this is our healthy default equilibrium. So we're running at 10 kilometers per hour. This is what we are used to run at, and we are starting. Now, 2 minutes into the run, we suddenly lose a shoe. So we will be at point 1, right? Loss of healthy equilibrium. We are losing a shoe. Now, what happens? We stop. We pick up the shoe, and if the shoe is intact, we put it back on and resume with the same speed of 10 kilometers per hour. Now, this is the best option. It would be 1A, restore default equilibrium, which is the optimal one. Now, what happens if the shoe, for example, is broken? If we lost the sole or the lace, shoelace are broken. At this point, our second best option would be to remove the other shoe and just resume our run at a slower speed. So this will be a new equilibrium because we can still run at a stable speed, but it will be slower and we can run less far. So this will be a suboptimal equilibrium. We can take a second example. Let's imagine that you are preparing some rice. We are preparing some rice for ourselves and our partner. We set aside 150 grams of rice, half a liter of water, and 5 grams of salt, which you know are the correct ingredients, the correct amounts and ingredients to prepare enough food and with the right taste for yourself and your partner. Now, while getting ready to add the rice to the pan, you split half of the rice. On, let's say, a dirty floor, and you must throw it away. Now, at this point, your best solution would be to find half of the original amount of rice, so 75 grams, and this would restore the original equilibrium. But let's say you can't find any rice, you finished all the rice you had, and your neighbor doesn't have any and the stores are closed. So what's your second best option? At this point, I would say it would be just throw away half of the water, half of the salt, and just do half of the rice. This would be a suboptimal solution. The taste equilibrium will be preserved, but it will not yield enough food to satisfy you and your partner's hunger. So this will be a suboptimal solution. Now, a few final remarks about homeostasis and disease. Now, a healthy equilibrium means there is a healthy homeostasis, which means we have health. And this is a summary, basically. And when we are in a state of chronic disease, homeostasis is an important concept, as we saw that there are different levels of equilibrium that determine different degree of health disease. So within disease, you have different homeostasis, and that will determine the level, the degree of disease or health and health. Then the body will always adapt to an equilibrium that maximizes health, the best homeostasis. This is the basis of all medicine. It is within the domain of medicine to support the restoration of the healthiest homeostasis possible, based on this concept that there are different homeostasis possible. Now, in conclusion, and this applies especially to chronic disease, we have found that health is not black and white, right? There are different homeostasis. So health is within this gray zone of different possible equilibrium, different possible homeostasis. Some more and some less health promoting. This would be the most important point of today's discussion, today's topic. Now we have concluded, and that was it. We have covered first important foundations about the basics of medicine, what health is, what wellness is, what disease is, and how the important concept of homeostasis ties into all of this. I hope I already made you a little bit smarter. Again, if you have questions or comments, please add them in the comment section. And thank you for your time.